Voltron Network.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a special. What's this going to be, Mo? Like a mini-sode, a talking Mission Impossible retrospective?
Special mini episode of the Mission Impossible movie franchise.
Yeah, I think this would be good to do with just franchises now and again. Me and Mo just sit down, watch a saga, and discuss whether it's actually any good. This week, it is Mission Impossible. The weird outlier in movie franchises, which oddly seems to get better and better the further it goes on.
That is very true about this series, right? Generally, the rule of thumb for any movie franchise, or generally has always been, the first movie is the best, and they basically get worse the longer they go on, right? So if you look at, say, like Police Academy, the first one's the best. By the time they get to number 7, like people are like, there was a number 7?
Yeah, I know. Most people, even now thinking of that, I can remember maybe up to 3. After that, what the hell happened?
Oh, number 4, you've got Citizens on Patrol. Number 5, you got Assignment Miami. Number 6, it's City Under Siege, and I think 7 is Mission in Moscow. I've actually got the box set here that I bought last year. That might actually be the next one I watch now.
Oh God, no! Don't make me want to watch. I don't want to watch.
Everyone loves Police Academy, but anyway, we're here to talk about Mission Impossible.
So yeah, 24 years in the making, Mo.
Simple game. Is he serious?
Always.
Let's break it down. Mission Impossible 1996, directed by Brian De Palma, the legend.
So I was in high school at this time, and I remember going to the cinema to watch it. Oddly enough, I have 2 conflicting memories. I think I might have seen this twice. Once with I don't know who, and once with my computer science class for some bizarre reason. And the first thing that strikes me about this film when you watch it is, I don't know when the last time you saw it was, but like, how young does Tom Cruise look? I mean, he visibly looks so young compared to like even like number 2.
It's ridiculous, and he was what, 30 years old at the time, 30, 31.
Yeah, this has a start. Well, I was going to say it has a style all of its own, and we will come to that in number 2.
Yes,
but
does.
It's very, very different from what essentially I think from 3 onwards became like the standard sort of like tempo for these films.
Yeah, I think with this they were trying to take elements of the old TV show Mission Impossible from the 60s and 70s. But I'm going to ask you, Mo, do you know what connects this movie to the original TV show?
So did you know that there's actually more than one TV show? I only just realised that prior to this recording.
With different teams?
They did a reboot in 1988.
Ugh.
That ran for 2 seasons.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
No, I literally just saw it now when I was looking it up on IMDb to look at the years that these films came out.
But,
So
I'll ask you again, what's the link from this movie to the original show?
What I think I might have seen this on the special features, but I've completely forgot now.
Well, the link is, do you remember the lead actor in the TV show, the guy with the white hair?
I can probably tell you that in a second. So that would have been Peter Graves.
Yes. His character from the Mission Impossible TV show is the character that John Voight plays in this movie. So there's a direct link that he was once this bastion of what Mission Impossible stands for, and now in the Brian De Palma movie, he's become corrupted and disillusioned.
Yeah, you know what? They did cover that in the special features. Now it's all coming back to me.
Yeah, and Peter Graves was not happy about that. Like, how dare you? I worked so hard to mold his character, and you just destroy him and make him this murderous, evil villain. How dare you? Yeah, he was not happy. I think it's cool that they linked it that way.
Oh, absolutely. That shows at least a little bit of the fact that Brian De Palma might have had more than just I want to do a Mission Impossible movie. Actually, may have watched the original series.
Yeah. So this whole movie kind of revolves around them trying to acquire this knock list, which is basically a list of all of these secret agents in hiding, which bizarrely enough became a thing that actually happened in real life. I think various times, but the one that immediately comes to mind is the one in China, where all these like secret agents and spies, I think they were all American spies, all got discovered. This list just leaked out, and the Chinese authorities found them and killed them all.
Oh yeah, I mean you could imagine that actually being a thing, right? Because at any one given moment, various governments have various spies in various different places.
Yeah, but for a list of all of them to be discovered and all to get wiped out, that's movie shit right there.
I mean, it also happened with was it like with Edward Snowden? Didn't he, like, in the stuff that he revealed, actually put people who were out in the field in trouble because the documents that he had actually had proper names and stuff in them?
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah.
So, in retrospective, Mo, after all these years, how does it stand up?
So
Watching
I
it
thought
again.
that this particular film came across more as a thriller than an action movie.
Yes. Not much action in this. I think besides the
There's
restaurant thing and the train at the end.
Yeah, and it all seems to revolve. The whole movie seems to revolve around that one sort of like big set piece that they do with where he breaks into the place where they do the stunt.
The much parodied falling from the ceiling and just dangling just above the floor.
Yeah, they really got their money's worth with that one because I watched again on the Blu-ray. They had all the TV spots. Yeah. And every single one of those TV spots actually had that bit in it.
For something which really, not a lot happens in that scene, really. Besides sweat just dripping out from you.
Yeah, that's funny. And obviously the fact that the Leon, who is played by Jean Reno, who basically gets scared of a mouse. And lets go of the rope.
We're going to mention... the cameo from Emilio Estevez, who at the time was a big actor still, before he kind of disappeared like he has nowadays. Just getting killed off in the elevator.
It's always really surprising to see him in any movie, really, because he never quite became the big breakout star that his brother was, but he was so recognizable. But there was
a window of time when he was the successful brother. Like when they were doing like the Young Guns and all of that, he was the kind of he was always the better actor, in my opinion, out of both of them.
I think you might think he's the better actor because we never really saw much of him post, I think, like mid-95.
Yeah. But what's Charlie done as a good actor? What's the role Charlie's done that's worth it?
So he was in Platoon.
That wasn't his performance, though, that made that movie great.
I think Charlie's just had loads of exposure, right? Not just like in the movies business, but he's also like been just in the news all the time. He had like a long running sitcom where he was like the highest paid actor for like a really long time. He was putting in something like $1 million per episode or something.
That's crazy. But the way Estevez dies in this, the elevator just shoots to the top and that, that break just goes right in his head. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Some obviously towards the end, when I was watching it, where they're in the Eurotunnel.
Yeah.
That would have been really interesting to see, like in the special features, on how they did that. Because I was actually how are they doing this? It's like really early use of like CGI because you could tell like the helicopters blatantly.
It's just all green screen, the dodgy green screen.
Yeah. But like that was quite an interesting like little set piece. You're kind of watching it, and it kind of, like my memory was like, how the fuck does he get out of this? So I really couldn't kind of remember that.
I'd forgotten all about this set piece. It's one of those things there you kind of think the movie's kind of winding down and suddenly this kind of pops up. It's like, oh yeah. Completely thought it's like the last scene of Speed where it ends up on a train, I believe at the end. Is it a train? Yeah. You just completely forget it's coming and suddenly, oh yeah, crazy.
No, I really remember this because the whole train bit really sticks out in my mind as being like one of the other highlights of this film. Generally, I would say from the memories I had when I originally watched it, I remember thinking this is an okay film. It's not great, but it wasn't a bad film. Yeah. And I kind of still think that it's an okay movie. It's somewhat forgettable, right? If this had been like the only Mission Impossible movie, we probably wouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah, very true. I mean, a lot of people complaining, saying it was too confusing and.
Oh, you know what? I've got to totally agree. Either I'm really stupid or this movie is actually quite difficult to follow.
It's like who's dead, who's alive,
who's
wearing a mask.
And we're gonna talk about the mask stuff in the next film quite a lot. But it's like who's blackmailing who and who's blackmailing who for what. Some of that actually is quite difficult to follow. I would agree with that.
What makes me laugh though is Tom Cruise ends up sleeping with Emmanuel Petit, or Bert, however you pronounce her name, after he's found out that her husband's still alive. When he thinks the husband's dead, off limits. But once he finds out he's alive, okay, now I can sleep with you. What?
Well, I mean, the dude's obviously into some kinky shit, right? You don't do a job like the IMF if you're like quite normal.
Yeah, it's true.
But to be fair, who would say no to her?
Oh, no one. So in retrospect, what do you give this movie?
I would give it probably a 3, right? It's not bad, it's not good, but it's like if you haven't seen it in a long time, or if you've never seen it, it's an enjoyable 2 hours.
Yeah, I think 3 is fair. I'll give it a 3. Okay, now Mission Impossible 2, MI2.
You know me?
No. Should I?
She's got no training for this kind of thing.
To go to bed with a man and lie to him, she's a woman. She's got all the training she needs.
Welcome to Australia, mate.
This ain't funny.
2000, yes, by the Hong Kong director John Woo.
There is a lot I want to say about this film.
Now I got to preface all this that I love John Woo as a director in Hong Kong. His Hong Kong output was masterful.
Who doesn't love John Woo?
For some reason, though, when he came to America, man, he just started making. His style completely changed. Everything about what made him good, what made him unique, just kind of went out the window, except for dubs. He kept that around and double guns, but he just didn't work the same way in the Hollywood.
But I think you see this trend again and again, right? You have like these big stars come from Asia, right? And they have a real difficult time here because the movie studio system is just so different. Audiences are just so different. And you kind of try and bring that sort of work ethic and sensibility over here, and you're fought every step of the way by the studio.
See, I would get that with actors because they're just hired guns. There's not really a whole lot of power they truly should have in a movie. Well, they shouldn't have. Tom does.
But even a director has that problem. Like, you watch the special features of some movies, and you talk about like how the director and the producer or the director and the studio were just at loggerheads the whole time.
Yeah. But this movie, man, just sums up the 90s. Everything from Limp Bizkit soundtrack and it's just the effects.
Just Tom Cruise's hairstyle. He's got like the long hair in this one.
I know. And this is the first Tom Cruise movie. I remember when this came out where him doing stunts was considered like a big deal when he was hanging out right at the beginning when he's hanging off of that cliff. And people was like,
is that Ed Rock that he was on? Because it's in Australia or something, isn't it?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Could be. But yeah, it was like, holy crap, he actually did that, even though it's probably on a safety wire, but still.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything to corroborate this, and maybe you'll remember, but I distinctly remember at the time there was like this huge like hoopla in the media that like Tom Cruise had made an insane amount of money just from being in this film. I want to say something in the region of like 80 million. Now, I might possibly just be making that up, and I might be misremembering. But I know there was something very much about this film.
It wouldn't surprise me because he produces these movies from the very beginning, from the first one. I think the first Mission Impossible movie was his first production from his own production company. So he had all the power in that. And
he did. So I'm going to try and dig that up because I'm pretty sure he made an insane amount of money from this film.
But yeah, this movie, you could see watching it that this is John Woo's vision of how he would make a James Bond movie.
It's almost nonsensical, this film.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like the typical Hong Kong film, right? They try to get these action pieces and build the script around it.
The dancing cars.
The action is just so ridiculous in this film.
The dancing cars with Tom and Fandy Newton are just kind of like dancing around the road.
Oh, and the bit where they're spinning around together, right? Before they hit the cliff. Oh, my Lord. I think the most shocking bit in this movie, and I know I'm jumping around a bit, is the bit towards the end where they're on bikes and they're facing each other, right? And then they literally, they race at each other. The two actors jump, and then the bikes meet, and they fucking explode. It's almost like if there's any car chases like that, if there are any cars that have an accident in this film, they automatically just explode.
Crazy.
You can tell, even if you didn't know who directed this, by watching it, you'd probably say this is a John Woo movie, right? Because it's got all of that, the camera sweeps around in that fancy way. It's got like the slow-mo. It's got the doves. It's got all his trademarks, which just looks so out of place. When you, if you've just watched the first film the day before, you're
jarring.
Yeah, it is so jarring. They've gone from something that was fairly intelligent to something where, right, we've got Sandy Newton, who's like hella's hot, ridiculous plot with the virus, and it's quite apt watching it now, right? Because obviously someone's leaked the virus, they've got a cure, they want to put it out into the world and make loads of money from it, right?
It's a bad James Bond movie because it's mainly just Tom on his own. Fandy's like a thief.
Bond girl.
Yeah, basically a Bond girl.
Yeah.
But one thing I also remember about this film is what's his name? Dougray Scott. This movie is the movie that prevented him from being Wolverine. You know, I'm talking about Mo, the villain.
The villain, yeah, and I'm just looking him up now.
Yeah,
so,
he was supposed to be Wolverine.
That worked out in our advantage then, right?
Yeah, because of this movie, the scheduling wouldn't allow him to play Wolverine. And that's when Hugh Jackman stepped in a role and did that shit for a decade.
Great stuff.
And this guy's disappeared. Like, poor guy. His career has never recovered.
I cannot wonder why, right? Because this was ridiculous. All the way to, so in the first film they've got obviously used the mask.
Yeah.
So you've got to suspend some belief, right? But in this particular film, and in later films I think they address it a little bit, but in this particular film, suddenly putting on the mask gives you the voice and the build of the person that you're putting the mask on. You know the bit I'm talking about?
It gets so ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
There's so many mask reveals in this movie. Like, John was having a fun time. Fun time.
So do you remember the bit towards the end where they're all in this underground cavern? They're doing like the deal, and then Tom Cruise comes along, he fights that guy, puts on his mask, he comes into the room, right? And instead of like just fucking like shooting the bad guy, he decides the best course of action is to grab the virus and the cure and make a run for it.
Yeah.
And extending the movie for like another 20 minutes.
Yeah, so crazy. Because he has the bad guy with him in it as a when he presents him to
Yeah. So he puts like the bad guy's mask on him, and he puts Tom Cruise's mask on the bad guy.
He has time to scan his own face and scan that guy's face and mold a mask.
Exactly. Yeah, there is like no logic in this film. It is a terrible, terrible movie. And I don't think I've ever actually watched this film before. I think I've seen snippets of it. I actually realised doing this rewatch, I actually hadn't seen Mission Impossible 2 and 3.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I'd been spared the hideousness of this film.
That is crazy.
And I will say, one thing I will say, in 4K, all of these movies look absolutely beautiful.
This movie does work on a comedic level, though. If you're watching it with a group of people, that's how this movie works, because there's just a lot to laugh at.
This would be a great one, I reckon, to do like a commentary track on.
Yes, it would.
Because you would just rip the piss out of it the whole time.
So what do you give this one, Mo?
This one, I think, is definitely like a 2.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Because we're in sync. Perfect. 3-2.
It's an absolute 2, yep.
Okay, now let's get to it. This is where, if I was to meet someone who'd never seen any of the Mission Impossible movies, and they wanted to sit down and watch them, I'd probably just skip the first 2 and just say, okay, start here. This basically is the beginning. It's like a soft reboot of the whole franchise, in my opinion.
I would completely concur with that. You don't need to have seen the first 2. There's very little from the first 2 that are carried over. And this is like Bad Robot essentially taking this franchise over.
Yeah, so we got Mission Impossible 3, MI3, 2006.
Stand by to go live. On my mark. 5.
You have a wife, girlfriend?
4. 3.
Whoever she is, I'm gonna find her.
2.
I'm gonna hurt her.
1.
And then I'm gonna kill you right in front of her.
What are you not telling me?
Directed by J.J. Abrams. And this is credited as his directorial debut.
It absolutely is, right? Because I was looking up the movies that he's directed while I was watching this movie, and I was really surprised that this was his big first feature. So
Yeah.
he made his name on things like Alias and
yeah.
Lost.
Yeah.
And it actually boggles my mind how this guy got so big, like in that sort of like in the mid 2000s,
Yeah.
the time where he walked into Paramount and I'm doing Star Trek now.
It's so mad.
Yeah.
It's so mad.
Arguably, I would say this is probably his best directed movie because it, like a lot of his films tend to start really strong. They have great ideas and they just peter out at the end. And this one actually carries on all the way through to the end with like a semi, reasonable conclusion. And it's obviously the one where they introduce a love interest and a wife for Tom Cruise.
Yeah, it happens kind of out of the blue, but like I said, if you see this as a soft reboot, you can just go along with it. This is this guy. He stepped away from being an agent. He's got his life together. Got his wifey Michelle Monaghan. Always loved her.
Oh, lovely, lovely lady. And what's really funny for me, because I'd never seen number 3 and then watched Fallout when it came out, I was a little bit confused. I mean, you can pick it up in the film. They give you enough information in there. But obviously now watching it in the right order, it's a better story.
Lesson learned. Always watch movies in the order that they're released. Don't just jump around. You can't expect to like something when you don't know what the hell's going on. But yeah, this is also notable because up to this point, we have the best villain that they've ever had, in my opinion. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Just purely off of his performances. Like, he's not necessarily a formidable bad guy physically, but he has a physical presence, this intimidation factor in the way he talks and this intensity that he has that makes him so good. He's such a good actor, man.
He just looked too fat to be that as intimidating as he actually came across as. I mean, he was a complete badass in this movie, right? Like nothing would stop him.
Yeah, in the physical sense, that isn't much believable. But in the sense, like how it begins, the opening sequence where it's like, where's the rabbit's foot? Yeah, like that. They did that so well. So well.
Or the bit on the plane where he's like, he's obviously, the audience is supposed to think that Tom has got him now and things are over. And he's saying like, have you got someone in your life?
Yeah.
I'm going to like find her and kill her.
I'm going to find. They're so dismissive of the way he says it. Like he's just annoyed after having to say it. I'm going to find her. I'm going to kill her in front of you. It's so fucked up. That's what makes it good.
This is genuinely a good action romp.
It's even though they openly kind of present the MacGuffin as a MacGuffin, the rabbit's foot, they make no attempt to explain what it truly really is. And they just don't care.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really good point, right? Yeah. It's just kind of like, it's just a thing that we need to get.
Yeah, and Kerry Russell pops up in this.
Very, very, very briefly.
Very brief, but it has a unpleasant end. That head bomb thing. I'm surprised they've never really gone back to do more of this. Because it's such a good way to kill somebody.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So having that you've never seen it before, did you think she was going to end up dying? You think he was going to save her?
Well, she dies really early on, right? She dies in like the first 10, 15 minutes of the film.
But within that moment where he's counting down.
Yeah. So that does come quite as a shock because you're kind of thinking you've got Kerry Russell in the film, right? Like you're quite not a huge A-lister star, but like it's a name.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like, what the fuck? She's gone like in the first 15 minutes. So that was quite a surprise.
And Maggie Q as well pops up in. This is also gets the formula down for these Mission Impossible movies because this is the first one where he truly has a proper team, where they're not all turning on each other and all betraying each other. It's like a solid team working together to make to get the goal to achieve the mission, which always separated it from James Bond.
And the thing with Maggie Q is like she never really ages, but damn, she looks young in this film as well.
Yeah. And who was the other actor? Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. Which I'm surprised he did a role like this because I always thought he was a little slightly above this level because he doesn't really have a lot to do in this. He's just like their vehicles guy.
Yeah, I mean, we're 3 movies into it, and we haven't also mentioned what's his name,
Ving Rhames,
and he's like in all the films.
Yeah, I don't know what sort of a deal he's got going with Tom, whether he's got compromising photos of him or something. But Tom seems to love him. Always brings him back. He does nothing else. He doesn't need to. He probably gets paid enough doing these. Makes no other movies. It's insane.
Yeah. I would probably give this one.
Hold on, whoa. We don't jump straight into it. We haven't even spoke about Simon Pegg. We have his debut as Benji.
Oh, was he in? Oh, yes, he was in this one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But he's very not a field officer, right? He spends most of his time behind a phone and on a computer.
Yeah, but that makes it later on work better that we get to see him just as the tech guy, just as this enthusiastic guy who's just kind of takes his job real serious. So I'm happy they had him like this. This was the introduction. Because I don't think I would have accepted it if it started out with him as a field agent. I wouldn't have believed it. He's too goofy.
Simon Pegg must also like get on really well with somebody, either like JJ or someone at Bad Robot, because I was thinking, he's in this and he's in Star Trek as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I forgot about that. It's true. So what did you say you were going to give it?
Oh, so one other thing worth mentioning, Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, never came back though.
Never came back, but it did bring up an interesting thing while I was watching this, because I was thinking, this is the third movie in a row, and it's not the last time they do this. I think it's about 2/3 of the films, where the bad guy is a mole or a double agent. It's in the first film, it's in the second film, it's in the third film, and I'm sure there's one of the other films it's also in. And you're kind of like, the problem seems to be the IMF.
There's that, and also the fact that he goes rogue in pretty much every movie.
That they need to get away from that staple. It's kind of like, if Tom tells you something now, or rather, if Ethan Hunt tells you something now, just believe him.
Believe him. He doesn't have to freaking turn your back on him.
It's almost like that Jack Bauer 24 thing now.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. Ethan Hunt has been disavowed. Again? How many times has it happened?
He's still like, if we find him, we don't bring him in, we kill him.
Yeah. So you'll take it you enjoyed it then. So, 4 stars?
This is a 4-star film.
Yeah, I
it's
agree with
a good action movie. This, like, you know, those sort of like dumb popcorn movies. This would like fit that bill so well. Whereas, like, I have disdain for, like, say, like Fast and the Furious. If they were to make them to like this level of quality, this is like what I would recommend to someone.
It's satisfying as well. I like that there's that reveal that he gets to explain to his wife who he is, what he truly is.
Yeah.
I find that satisfying.
They even have like the happy ending in this film as well.
Yeah, it's true. What about that run through freaking Shanghai? Was it Shanghai or Beijing or wherever they were? It went on forever. Just Tom just running through these streets with real people in them.
That seems to be another thing that pops up. I think they do that in Fallout as well. Yeah. But yeah, that guy. Because if you think about the movie making process, right, you do one scene over and over again, right? You do different takes from different angles, cameras. So he genuinely looks. I don't know if there's like a trick that producers or directors can make someone look like they're running really fast, but he genuinely looks as though he is running full pelt. The whole time.
Crazy. Okay, on to the next. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
The 4 of us are all that remains of the IMF. No safe house, no support or extraction. Everyone connected with this man is an asset with valuable information. We come back with our target, or we don't come back.
2011, directed by Brad Bird.
I think this is the only one that Brad Bird directed, right?
Yeah. If that name's recognizable to you guys, that's the guy that did Incredibles.
Yeah, lots of the Pixar stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when I looked that up the other night, I was like, hold on a minute, all this guy's stuff is like Pixar related stuff, and this is like probably the only real live action movie that he's done, and it's quite an odd one to like put yourself forward for and even actually get.
Yeah. After this, I think he did Tomorrowland. Was it Tomorrowland?
Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
He did the screenplay for that.
He directed it as well.
Did he direct that as well? Let's have a look. Oh, yeah, he did. Yes,
yeah, but we'll stick to this. Maggie Q was supposed to come back for this. And I suspect Jonathan Rhys-Meyers as well. I reckon that Paula Patton would have been the Maggie Q character. And Josh Holloway gets killed at the beginning. It was a cool little chase thing and a death early on. That probably would have been Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, because we see those two characters getting to know each other and getting a bit friendly later on in their movie.
Right.
But Maggie couldn't come back because she was doing Nikita at this point, and her schedule wouldn't allow it.
Is that Nikita, the TV show, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a shame. That's a shame. She must be kicking herself for that. You gotta have these get out of jail free cards in your contract, man. There has to be a way.
Well, generally they do. They try and like work around your filming schedule, right? So generally the TV season goes from like wherever to wherever. Then the summertime they go off and do a movie.
Do you remember that show though? She was hard. She was barely the main character in that.
You know what? I've not actually watched that. That's probably something I should probably track down and watch.
It was pretty fun for about 2 or 3 seasons. But yeah, Paula Patton does a good job with what she's got.
Paula Patton, Jeremy Renner is also like introduced, becomes the mainstay in this series. I'll tell you who I really did like was the French actress.
Léa Seydoux.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was going to butcher that otherwise.
She doesn't have much to do though. Unlike when she's in, because she also pops up in the James Bond series, the last one and the one that's about to come out. She has a lot more to do there. She doesn't do much in this.
She doesn't have a lot to do, but I did like her character because the character just came across as like a proper, I'm only in this for the diamond.
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah,
cold-blooded.
absolutely. Cold-blooded, just doesn't care that she's about to like give nuclear codes to like some psycho as long as she gets diamonds.
What do you think of Josh Holloway, or what was his name in Lost?
So he was Tom Sawyer in Lost.
Yes, that's it. That's all I ever know him as. But I like that. I just remember this because of that jump where he dives off the roof, throws that thing down, turns around, shoots the guys that are coming behind him, and then this like crash bag just opens up below him. That's a cool shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that.
Is this the first Mission Impossible then to have like? I guess there was the climbing in number 2. But is this the first one that really has that like big sort of tentpole stunts that these movies have now become famous for? Because this is like on that hotel in Dubai, right?
Yeah, the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah.
I guess so. Because it's a lot more grander than the one in the last movie. I think it was the last one where he was in China on the building because he did all that as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess he did really, didn't he?
Yeah.
But this one, like, they took it to like the next level, really, didn't they?
Yeah. It was actually something that they promoted in little documentaries and videos and stuff.
Yeah, and even watching it now, like all these years later, having seen it before, it still looks so impressive.
Yeah. But my only complaint about this is compared to Seymour Hoffman in the last one.
Yep.
Michael Nyqvist. If you recognize him, guys, he was in the Swedish versions of the Dragon Tattoo movies, Michael Blomkvist. And I just don't think he makes a very good villain. He's not formidable in any way. And I think that's what lets this whole movie down. Is that he just doesn't. There's no meat there for me.
I think the problem is with a lot of these villains. Hold on, I'm trying to remember because I've watched so many of these in like such a short space of time. I might be getting a bit confused. What he was basically trying to basically start a nuclear war, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which always comes across to me as like if you're a supervillain, that is the worst plan in the entire world, right? Because once you start that war, you have no control over what happens next.
Exactly. But this has that cool set piece where they go to Moscow.
Oh yes, yeah, right at the beginning, right, or towards the beginning, where
the Kremlin.
That's the bit where they've got the screen,
yeah,
and Simon Pegg, right, where they're hiding behind it,
with the water drops. Bloop, bloop.
Yeah,
yeah, and they destroy the Kremlin. And Ethan gets blamed, and then he has that whole breakout scene after that Russian agents trying to interrogate him in the hospital.
Oh, I love that bit, right? Because he gets a moment to escape, and he takes it, and he's out on the ledge, and like he realizes he can't make the jump. It's kind of nice to know that there are moments where he will just do whatever, and then actually will take it and think maybe I can't do this.
Yeah, there's limits.
But then you see him take that jump onto the roof of that van, and the way that he rolls onto it and onto the ground,
he just bounces off. And you know what really gets me is the fact that he's barefoot, which really kind of ow. I just don't understand. Whenever I see people walking around, even in the street with bare feet, I just think how?
Yeah, little bits of glass, used needles.
It's too crazy. What was actually, I remember the news when this came out. There was all these like little reports. I don't know whether they were just rumors that were baseless. But people were saying that Jeremy Renner's presence in this was because they were looking to transition out Tom Cruise. Like Tom himself was looking to step away and do other things. So Renner was being positioned to be the new lead star of this. But
Oh, really?
yeah. So that's why he starts out pretty unassuming as an accountant type guy, an office pencil pusher. But then suddenly halfway through, he's got all of these skills that he has this like mysterious past that they don't really get into. So they were really trying to set him up. But I don't know. I guess either they lost faith in it, or Renner just didn't quite. Or I'm guessing Tom just wasn't willing to let go. I think he was having too much fun by this point.
So this really is like a Tom Cruise vehicle, right? Would you be interested again to see a Mission Impossible movie where Tom Cruise wasn't in it?
No, unless it's with an actress that we'll get into later on in the next movie.
Because it's almost like, do you remember the Jason Bourne movies? They did one without Matt Damon.
Bad.
And I haven't seen that one because Jason Bourne is like Matt Damon.
The problem is, Renner isn't that great.
He's not.
As an actor, he's pretty one note in the Marvel movies, in the Bourne movies. Like, his presence just isn't.
Yeah. He's fine as a supporting character,
Yes.
or actor. I've never seen anything in him that says leading man.
No.
And that's not a slight on Renner, because I know he gets a lot of stick.
Except for
I don't mind him.
Except for Hurt Locker. I've got to say, he led that and did a good job with that.
In this, he's absolutely he's fine, right? Because he has that kind of voice of like sanity.
Whereas
Whereas
he's the audience.
Tom's like,
He's the
whereas
audience.
Tom is just like, just upping the stakes no matter what.
He reflects the audience's opinion, like when they're escaping the car after they get crashed in the river, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
What? How did you know that they would shoot the body with the flare in it? Why would they shoot that? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, it's nice to see them address those things sometimes.
What did you think of the ending though, in the sort of robotic car park thing?
Right. Remind me what happened in the ending.
Well, they've got the case, the rocket's coming down with the nukes on it.
Oh, yes.
See, Tom's
That actually is like quite the. You know, it's one of those sort of films where it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
But you know, like sometimes where you can have it go on and on and on and it just becomes boring. This is like, fuck me, how much more punishment is Cruise going to take? How much more punishment is the bad guy going to take before one of them just gives up?
Hey, say what you like about the bad guy, but at least he believed in his cause so much so that to stop Tom getting the case, he was willing to just throw himself off. He just takes the dive.
Yeah, that bit, I guess all he was thinking is, I just need to make this as difficult as possible until time runs out, right?
But it made no sense. He could have just thrown the case. He didn't have to throw himself.
Yeah, that's when I was watching. That's exactly what I thought. And like that makes like, and then all you do is like you wait for him to go and get the case. Again, that made no sense.
Yeah. So that's
maybe one too many blows to the head. But that like final bit where he gets the car and he just drives straight forward. You got to think that's going to be a great advert for, was it like a BMW or
That's
something?
what I was thinking. That it must have been a hell of a negotiation going there, saying what car truly has the crash safety record that could withtake that fall.
That could absolutely do that. And I think they even joke about it at the end of the film where the insurance company wouldn't pay out because something about cars not supposed to be taking like a vertical head-on collision.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So fun movie, but I think the bad guy lets it down for me.
To be fair, I didn't really think anything of the bad guy. He doesn't really stand out, but I didn't think he was a particularly bad guy. One other thing is they obviously do address the fact that they obviously gave him a wife in the previous movie and then realized that wasn't really going to work in these kind of films. Yeah,
so they address it, which thankfully they do. They don't just ignore it. Address it by saying that she's thought to be dead, but then we see Tom at the end stalking her, coming out of her shop. He's just watching her. She seems to be fine with him just watching him across the road. Watching her across the road.
That's got to be so like weird, right? Because like you got to think at some point she's going to go out on a date with someone else.
Exactly, which we know she does in the last movie. She's married. It's like, damn. So what do you give this one then?
I would say this is a rock solid 4.
4 again, yeah. This is weird. How come we're agreed on all these ratings, man? This is we ain't used to that. But definitely, I think I'll give this one a 4 as well.
Yeah.
So good. On to the next 2015 Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Are you okay to drive? I mean, a minute ago you were dead.
What are you talking about?
This is not going to end well.
Mr. Chairman, the time has come to dissolve the IMF. It's not just a rogue organization. It is a disgraced one.
And this is the beginning of the Christopher McQuarrie era.
It is indeed. Now, we actually, or rather, I did a review of this on the podcast.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember if it was when it came out or it must have come out on like home video. And I remember not liking this film.
How? Why?
I thought the bad guy was not a great bad guy, and it was a lot of standing around and talking. Watching this movie this time, I actually got a completely different vibe from it. I didn't get that, and I was like, no, actually, this is actually a pretty good film.
Sean Harris is good because he has this
a really good bad guy.
Yeah, he has this, the way he talks and his face, he just has this strange intensity and just creepiness about him. It's like a snake.
Absolutely.
Like a weasel.
Yeah. For some bizarre reason, the end of this movie, in my mind, was completely different from what actually happened.
Oh, I actually found it really... It's weird how satisfying I found that ending, how it reflects what happens in the earlier part of the movie. It's great. But like from beginning to end, this is like an absolutely great flick. I like the fact that they brought in Alec Baldwin. Yes.
He fits in really, really well. They're talking about a rogue element in one of these agencies. So they're kind of back on that kind of subplot.
And they brought in the MI6 agent Rebecca Ferguson, who I love. She's so good.
So good in this role. Just
so good.
She's that like femme fatale, like just to a T, right?
And it's believable, which doesn't always happen with some of these female. No disrespect to some of the female characters in certain action movies, but they don't always do a good job of building them up to make them believable to be so kick-ass. Like, I find her way more kick-ass than I do Harley Quinn. Like, there's a scene in the Harley Quinn's Birds of Prey where she's beating up all these prisoners as the doors open up, and I find it just seems silly. This, I'm all in.
I think with her, they didn't really try to sexualize her, even though like they got her in those sort of like little outfits and sexy looking things and stuff. She's just another agent who's just out to like kick ass.
Believable kick ass. So going back to an earlier question where you said, would you watch a Mission Impossible movie without Tom?
Yeah.
They've been talking about giving Rebecca Ferguson her own spin-off, which I guess would just be a full-on female James Bond movie, which that's how you do it. You don't take James Bond character and turn it into a female James Bond. You actually just create a whole new wicked character, which she is, and make her the lead of the movie. And that's how you do a female version of that. And I would totally be into that because I love that character.
Oh, absolutely. She's a great character. And it was awesome to obviously see her pop up in the next film as well.
Yeah. See, they're all... Christopher McQuarrie just keeps he's got this whole universe going now, which I love.
This one really kind of like... You can see the direction of the film has ever so slightly changed, right? Because they start doing... Tom goes from... He's always been like this action man type thing to like... He's almost Superman now.
Yeah, but they do a good job of pulling him down by the ankles at certain points in the right moments. Just before it gets too crazy, like Vin Diesel likes to do, or The Rock.
Oh yeah.
Like with these guys, they just gets to the point of crazy. They pull him down and make him remind you that he is human. He does get fucked up, like when he nearly drowns and he's all fucked up when he's trying to drive.
Yeah. That bit. So that bit is almost ridiculous, right? But it just looks so good. Like the fact that they've got this data center that's underwater and it's only accessible in this particular way, and you're kind of like the only way to get in. You're kind of like, who the fuck? That's just ridiculously stupid, right? But it just looks so good.
Yeah, it's a computer game level. It's a level in the game we have to fight against the tide. Perfect. But the fact that he nearly drowns and that he's all fucked up at the end, I love.
But he drops the key card, right? And he has to go and swim to get the key card. Great. And then he doesn't know if the one he's got is the proper one.
Screw it. Or even at the opening, man. I love it when he's just hanging off the plane. Benji, open the door.
Yeah.
Open the other door.
I think that kind of like sets the tone for like what these new films are going to be like.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is a very, very impressive little stunt,
And
and it's just even more amazing to know it's actually him doing that.
yeah, deep. He's already in his 50s at this point.
Yeah,
Insane.
and because I was watching these movies back to back, you suddenly realise they film in London quite a lot. Like London is quite this sort of like central focal point of a lot of these films, and it's not like they're just saying they're in London. You actually see things. You're like, I think I can't remember which film it was. It might be the first one. Is they show the Liverpool Street Station, and he walks out the station, and he walks across the square, and you're like, oh my god, that's like literally like near where I work, and like near the McDonald's and all that sort of stuff.
It's always
it's
nice.
quite cool to see all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, there is something about European locations, European cities, and spy espionage. It just kind of goes side by side so well.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess it's because it's that hodgepodge of like Europe, unlike the US, is like made up of lots of different countries, right? So there's a lot of like differences, a lot of like opportunity for like espionage and stuff.
That's true, man. I can't help but feel sorry for that shopkeeper, the woman who gives him the record.
Oh, who gets killed right
Shot
at
in
the
the
beginning.
head by Sean Harris.
She's obviously so like starstruck that like Ethan Hunt, like this mythical agent, has popped into her safe house.
Probably her first
Kinda
mission.
Thinking, oh look, this would be a guy that I'd like to be trapped with in the shop with. Just get shot in the head, which kind of makes you think that this bad guy again is just a little bit unstable. Like, why would that be the way you start things off with if you want to kidnap Tom Cruise, kidnap him, right? Don't like fucking make him watch the death of like one of his colleagues.
Well, he's making a point, man. That's the whole thing, because in this movie we get introduced to the syndicate, and the whole thing is like the anarchists of tearing the establishment down and building the new. So he's just showing Tom, man, don't get attached. Everyone's expendable. Got to do what you have to. The opera scene.
Great little scene, right? Oh, the whole bit, getting like Simon Pegg, like making him think he's won tickets to get over there. Just a beautiful looking bit of it outside, and then inside the like where he's trying to follow the bad guy. He's having that fight on those.
Can we talk for a second on Simon Pegg? Like,
Simon Pegg.
You're highly suspected in still being in contact with this rogue agent who's a spy. You're getting questioned all the time. And don't forget, he's MI whatever. What's they called again?
Well, they're IMF, aren't they?
IMF, that's it. He works for IMF, which is, in the States, in America, and special investigation thing. But you got all this going on in your life, and you think that it's a good idea when everyone suspects you of being a double agent, of not being loyal, to just go off to Austria.
He's won those tickets.
Yeah, but you still not gonna go because it makes it look bad that you've been questioned, and now I'm just gonna fly off to Austria, go to the opera on my own.
On a polygraph, because he says like you do this daily to me.
It's stay put, man. But yeah, that whole thing with we get to see Rebecca Ferguson again in that gorgeous. I don't even know.
Gorgeous. Was that like a gold dress
green,
or something?
Yeah. I love even the bad guy. I love that he turns the fucking flute into a shotgun, a rifle, whatever the hell. What? They do gadgets so believable in this.
That whole bit is brilliant, especially where you've got like Simon Pegg pressing like a button or something unknowingly, right? And it's raising the platform that Tom's on. And
another example of them pulling Tom down to be more realistic. He doesn't jump in there and completely beat the bad guy straight away. He jumps in, sees that the bad guy's twice his size, which Vin Diesel never does, and he ain't actually that tall. He's always got to look just as tall as whoever it is he's up against. It makes me like Tom Cruise a lot more. I used to hate Tom, but he's so cool now.
Oh, come on. I mean, if you take his personal life out of the equation, like on film, he's one of these guys that is just so bankable, right? Like any one of these films. I think there's only been like one or two films that I've watched that I've not liked. I think Vanilla Skies is probably like right up there. But everything else, he's just so watchable. And he's got such huge range, from like Cocktail to like Rain Man.
Yeah, but he doesn't do those films no more. He's he's become scared. He doesn't do real dramas. He hasn't done any for like 20 years. Real movies.
Well, I mean, these Mission Impossible films, they're like, they they are still something different from what you don't get in other places anymore,
Yeah.
right? Because
They're practical.
They're practical, but it's not him in front of a green screen. Some of
Yeah.
those like mad ass stunts.
That's what I mean. It's all practical effects. They're not relying on what most movies do is the CGI to get all these big set pieces. They're actually doing it the old fashioned way.
And that sets these films apart, right? Because you kind of watch it and it's that whole Jackie Chan kind of thing, right? It's the guy's actually doing it, or some of it.
Yeah. Another thing about this movie that I love, it has in my opinion, the best chase scene that they've had in all of these.
Is that the motorbike?
Yeah. Where they start in the car. Like that shot where he's in the alleys and the bikes are around him and he just like handbrake turns and crushes them on either side of him. That's so cool. So cool. And then he just goes after Rebecca Ferguson on his own on the bike. They're just so good. Such a cool
and you can kind of really see the chemistry between those two because no matter she keeps fucking him over, but you still like root for her as well because you know she's in a rock and a hard place position as well, and she's just doing this to stay alive.
So, what do you give this Rogue Nation?
Rogue Nation. Considering I didn't like it the first time round, but having watched it now as part of like the entire series, I would give this a 4.
I'm gonna go higher, 4.5.
Go 4.5.
It's just the quality. It just takes a step up from all the other movies for me. Christopher McQuarrie is just him and Tom together. Just I don't know what it is, but they work so well.
He's put his stamp on these, and the fact that he's involved in the 2 that are in production as well, really bodes well for like, what the quality of those films will be.
That's the writer and director. Love it.
Yep.
So 4 for you, 1 for me. Okay, let's get on to it. 2018. Can you believe it's 2018?
And then that's still 2 years ago.
No, that is so crazy. It just feels like it came out last year.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, number 6, Fallout.
There cannot be peace without first a great suffering. The greater the suffering, the greater the peace. The end you've always feared is coming, and the blood will be on your hands.
You don't understand what you're involved in.
You need to walk away.
Please don't make me go through you.
It's number 7, isn't it?
Oh, 6.
No, 7. Because Ghost Protocol is number 4. Oh, okay, right, number 6. Okay,
Rogue Nation,
okay.
Oh.
My mistake.
This stands out. What changes this for me from the others is that for the first time, in my opinion, we have a physically formidable antagonist, which we never truly had before in Henry Cavill.
Who again has a great on-screen presence as well.
Wicked.
Who just looks like a fucking beast as well.
Yeah. Completely different than anything else he's done on screen in terms of roles.
Yep.
It's usually like the lovable, likable hero, good guy. But in this...
Yeah. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue in this film, does he?
No, he just menaces from the background. You just see him watching people.
Yeah. And he looks absolutely humongous.
I know, especially next to Tom.
That scene in like the bathroom, the toilets, the men's room.
I know. This movie just bang, bang, bang. Because before this scene was the friggin' skydiving scene, which was wicked in itself.
Yep.
But yeah, that toilet scene was wicked. That fight.
So the very first thing about that toilet scene when I was watching this last night was like, this is so unbelievable, right? Because that's supposed to be in a club. You go in there. I've never been to a club where A, the toilets are so huge, B, they're not rammed, and it looks immaculately clean.
I know, especially because how big that club looks. It's like a cathedral.
It was so white. Like, everything just looked pristine.
Yeah. But that whole club is like a cathedral, and you're telling me none of those thousands of people want to go to the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, right there, believability just out the window.
But it's such a cool scene, though, man. I forgive it.
Yeah. That fight is just absolutely goddamn brutal, right?
And again, Tom gets his ass handed to him.
Absolutely. So I do like that, the fact that he's not afraid to look, not weak, but like not like Superman, right? Because you absolutely need that. Yeah. And the bit you see where, what's his name? Superman.
Cavill.
Fucking Henry Cavill. takes off his jacket and like swings his shoulders and like gets into fighting mode.
Pumps the guns. And just gets it. I love it. It's so cool.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Then they do there's the bit with the White Widow, right? Who's just crazy as fuck. Like literally, like when she literally comes across as though she is crazy as fuck.
Yeah. And we know that once we see her stab up those guys that Tom's fighting with in the club. Like, there's no. She happens to carry around a switchblade in her tights, and you know you've got a problem. Wouldn't
you? If you're like known as the White Widow, the reason that you've got a knife is the reason people are with her.
I guess she's got a brother though. He should be the one doing all that shit.
Her brother doesn't look anywhere near as crazy as she does.
Yeah.
Especially when she's explaining the plan, and like she's like, "Do you have a problem with killing women and children?" I don't know. So I think was "Do you have a problem with killing people?"
Police officers or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was it. And he goes, I kill women and children. She's like, okay then, good day. I'm gonna get some sleep now.
Dude, the difference in Vanessa Kirby, that's the White Widow's performance compared to Hobbs and Shaw, which is also in. Just the whole other end of the spectrum of this sort of movie. It's just so different. For me, Fallout is like, in the Mission Impossible overall saga, this is the Dark Knight for that. For me. I feel it just feels so much more substantial, this movie.
This film is genuinely fantastic. It's genuinely the best in the series.
Yeah. And welcome. We got what's-his-face back again. Oh, what's his name? We mentioned him earlier. Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin. Absolutely fantastic.
But we have someone above him, Angela Bassett.
Oh, yes, yeah.
In the CIA.
She's from the CIA.
Yeah, because he's moved across.
Plays that. Yeah, so she's almost playing the role he played in the last film, right?
That's it.
The CIA who's like, doesn't understand the IMF, basically wants to fuck them over. They want to be seen as the heroes.
It's so believable in real life because you know all these different agencies are forever getting in each other's way.
Oh, yeah.
It's so dumb in real life how they do this.
Yeah, because different agencies have different powers depending on like what they're doing and where they are.
And they all want the glory of getting a bad guy.
But this movie is just like one big set piece after set piece after set piece, right?
Another wicked chase.
So you get like just before the chase, you get that whole bit in where they basically got the prisoner convoy, right?
Yeah.
And instead of going through the plan, he just makes it up on the fly and literally like derails everything.
I know, but even before that, we get to see his imagination of how he thinks, how they want it to go.
Oh yeah.
They just turn up and just kill everybody. I like that. That was a nice little twist.
Great little sequence where you're basically just seeing like him standing over a police officer and having like that conscious moment, like, do I do it? Do I not do it?
And that kind of almost actually happens as well when they get in trying to get Sean Harris in the car, and then the doors open and you see the French police officer there, the woman.
Absolutely. So you can kind of see like in him, like even though he'll go to like these destructive lengths to like accomplish his mission, he's still very human at his core.
Yeah.
Just talking of Sean Harris, so this is another one of those moments where I was like, they've got a different actor from the last movie playing him because he looks so different.
He's got a beard this time, isn't it?
Because he's got the beard and all that sort of stuff, and he looks just so. And I have to literally go and look it up just to see. Am I imagining things?
Yeah, we spoke about this on the podcast, Talkingatthemovies podcast. Go check it out, guys. They really had to twist his arm to get him to come back because he's one of those true, serious thespian actors that does not do sequels. Like, he does a role, but puts everything he has into it, and then that's it. On to the next. And they really had to, doesn't matter how much money they threw at him, they had to really beg him to come back because he says he never does sequels. Having him come back as that role, it kind of links everything together in a nice spider web sort of way.
It does, and I think it also, so they've also brought on like quite a good dynamic, right? Because in that, if you imagine that the previous movie, obviously how those two interacted, and obviously all of a sudden now, Tom Cruise is responsible for having to actually keep this guy alive.
Yeah, and also, you kind of were led to believe that he was like the head of this whole syndicate thing, but in this, you kind of expose that even he has someone above him, which, we later see is Henry above possibly other people. Cavill.
Yeah, so you don't. Well, yeah. So I don't think they really explain that very well, and I wonder if they're holding that for the next film because Cavill just comes across as a henchman, who's being paid to do something. So there must be someone else.
Yeah,
right?
I think works better. But he does say when they catch him out, when he's talking to Sean Harris one-on-one, he's about to break him out, and he's talking about how he is it that scene or was it the one where Tom's hanging from the elevator? One of those two scenes, he says something about how he wants you alive. So.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah.
So there is definitely someone else going on, someone else around.
But I actually thought that was the Sean Harris character that wanted him alive, isn't it? Because he wants Ethan Hunt to see him fail, or the bombs go off, and his ex-wife die.
No, but he wouldn't agree to that because we saw when he was talking, or who he thought was talking to Sean Harris, that's not. He ain't about that. He's like, stop doing that. This ain't about you. This is a bigger goal here. This isn't about your petty vengeance. So I don't think he would just turn around later on and be like, nah, he wants you alive. I'm going to do what he says. He didn't seem to be working for him in that scene.
I don't know. I thought that was like more around the fact that Sean Harris didn't want Tom Cruise killed, right? Because he wants him to basically see that destruction at the end.
Did you get the sense that Henry was working for him? Because it didn't seem like that to me in that scene when they were talking to each other.
I wouldn't say he was working for him, but certainly not a case of like Sean Harris has to do whatever I say kind of thing.
He's like he put his foot down, but I don't know. We'll find out in the next ones. But what we do know is that Henry wrote the manifesto for the syndicate.
Which is the manifesto that was read out at the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I forgot all about that scene. Yeah, the fake.
That's a really cool scene because they haven't done that since the first film.
Yeah.
Because the first film opens with like them doing something very similar to that.
Yeah. That's so cool. And you see all the landmarks getting, religious landmarks getting bombed, and the walls just drop down.
Yeah, absolutely superb. And the newscaster come out and say, "Did we get it?" Brilliant stuff.
And then this ends with the whole big crazy helicopter chase that Tom actually learnt to. What? You got more?
No. I was going to say, before we get to the helicopter bit, there's that whole. So once they've done the bit in Paris, there's Tom Cruise running through the streets of London.
Oh yeah, off the rooftops.
I mean, absolutely pelting it. And then you've got like Simon Pegg, like doing those. Oh, I had it the wrong way up.
No.
Oh, I had it in 2D. When the bit in 2D made me laugh so much, right? Because Tom Cruise is in the office, taking a chair. He smashed the window with his office workers, like looking at him. And Simon Pegg is like, "Why have you stopped?" Because I've got to take a jump
out of a window. Oh, I see. Yeah, this is where the scene that Tom broke his ankle shooting.
I'm not surprised, right? Because you see him like doing these jumps. You see him running on top of the bridges, or as opposed to like on them. And like I said, like you watch him running, and he looks as though he is running absolutely full pelt.
Yeah, man.
Brilliant stuff.
We see Michelle Monaghan. Michelle Monaghan coming back later in just before the big helicopter chase. We find out that she's got a new husband. She's married. Yep. She's supposed to be laying low. He's doing charity work.
After someone she doesn't know phoned them and gave them that opportunity.
That's not a great. And even when people do charity work, there's always someone taking photos so that the world sees the work that's being done in these regions. Were they in Kashmir or somewhere? It's like,
they were on the Kashmir border, weren't they?
Yeah, so she is not doing a good job of laying low, man.
Nope, not at all.
No. But that chase, though, man. Whew.
That helicopter chase. So on the, I don't know if you saw this at the cinema, but especially on the 4K disc, they've got the that whole sequence is done on IMAX cameras. So you see them go from like the 2:3:5:1 ratio.
Yeah. They
open it up all the way, and it is just glorious. It looks absolutely stunning.
Crazy. So,
and knowing that Tom Cruise is actually flying that helicopter just makes it all the more enjoyable.
Just this bloody Corona, man. It's so sad. They were in the middle of filming the next one.
Yeah.
That they're going to shoot the next two back to back. So that delay, that's a whole year probably further that we're going to have to wait to get 7 and 8.
Potentially, yeah.
Boo.
But you know they're going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be good.
You know.
And just obviously to cap it off, that helicopter chase, and then that final fight on the cliff edge right at the end, right? You've got these two guys who are essentially making the bombs ready to cut the wire. And you've got Cruz, who the only thing he needs to do is get the trigger off that remote, which seems like a ridiculous flaw, right? Just seems like the most ridiculous. Like, why would having that off the detonator allow you to suddenly cut? You know, if you think about these things too much, you can go crazy. But the fact that they're off the cliff, they're hanging on like just by that hook that's holding a whole helicopter.
Ask me this: how the hell is Henry Cavill possibly going to survive this when there's news that he may be in the sequels?
So is he actually coming back?
It hasn't been confirmed yet, but there's.
Yeah, I would love to see him come back because he has been one of the best bad guys, right?
How would he though, considering how it ends?
Impossible. They find it's in the title. Impossible. They will find a way.
Somebody else in a mask.
It will be somebody in a mask. It will be like, we found him. We've got this new technique to like completely heal people from all their injuries.
Oh, they can't go too crazy with that shit, man. Please don't go with the Fast and Furious route.
The one thing that he'll probably do is come back without the moustache, right?
That's what makes him though. That's part of what I like about this character.
Absolutely is. He was absolutely great in this film. Right down to the fact that he was like being this slimy, conniving guy who's trying to feed like the CIA bad intel.
Who can you trust? So, Mission Impossible Fallout. What'd you give it?
Oh, I've seen this film twice now. Both times I've really enjoyed it. I would say that this is worth a 5 out of 5.
Damn it, Mo. I think 5 out of 6. I'm gonna have to agree with you. This is a 5 out of 5 for me as well.
Yeah, it just deserves it, right? This is just what the director of this movie was also offered something else, wasn't he? That he turned down to do more Mission Impossible stuff. No, just trying to did he get like
might be Star Wars or something?
No, I don't think it was Star Wars. Did he get offered like Superman or something? I know he got offered something that you kind of think, wow, if he had done it, that would have been really good.
Don't know about Superman. I haven't heard. There's been no Superman.
Oh no, hold on a minute. Hold on. I wonder if he got offered Star Trek, because there's also Bad Robot and Paramount.
How does JJ do that? He always finds his way of worming his way in that. Even when he doesn't actually do any work on something, he's still co-producer on it. Bad Robot. Well, as soon as he came in.
Yeah, because they licensed. I think he came along. In fact, I've been listening to quite a few podcasts where they're talking about some of this sort of stuff. And if you look at the difference between JJ Star Trek and the Star Trek movies that came before, but the movies that came before were all done by the TV division to like keep the cost down. So they were always relatively profitable. Whereas like JJ came along, and they've not reused like shots from any of the other films. Everything is brand new. It's all beautiful, all rebuilt from the ground up. Obviously, that they've banked on the name, but like Bad Robot, and like I was saying, he's gone from Mission Impossible 3 and then a few TV series to being like this huge mogul.
So mad.
He's obviously got some really good lawyers and like business acumen.
So, Mo, out of all the 6, what do you rate them in terms of best to worst or worst to best?
Best to worst. It's difficult. I need to think about that.
2 has to be the last one.
Yeah, 1 probably the one just before that, not because it's a bad film.
Yeah, just after that one. That's 2.
And then probably number 3 after that.
I'm gonna go 4 after that one.
Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, and then 3. And then
Rogue
5.
Nation.
Yeah, Rogue Nation, and then Fallout.
Then
That's the best.
But you've got to watch them in order. So
definitely.
Yeah, and you can, and like you said, you could probably like skip 1 and 2 and just go straight from 3 onwards.
So having watched them all, including the 2 which you've never seen before, somehow, I just don't know how the fuck that happened. Do you enjoy this whole thing a lot more? This whole franchise?
I do enjoy it a lot more, not having binged them over a few nights and seen the various different storylines come into play. If I'd watched them like at the cinema or on home video on their release and then not watched them again, I would have probably forgotten like all the little links. In fact, even having like I watched Fallout, and then I'd watched Rogue Nation just 2 nights before. And when Rebecca Ferguson turns up in like Fallout, I'm like, wow, who is she? What did she do?
Oh my
why
God,
like,
bro. I'm worried about you because that's too much from you. There's something going on there. I used to always have a go at Simon for being the one that forgets everything, but I'm starting to see signs in all of these reviews. There's a lot of signs going on with you, Mo.
Because those movies aren't like they're not cerebral films, right? They're almost
You just
like
said 2 days. You don't
Yeah,
forget somebody 2 days later.
But like those movies are purely just about like the action, right? You're not really watching them from the kind of the story.
Don't make excuses, Mo. Face up to there's a problem going on.
But they are, but even story-wise, they are actually fairly good. Even though they keep regurgitating the same old, there's a mole, there's a traitor.
How many?
They've
done the same.
Weapon.
They've basically done the same thing 6 times, but they seem to find a way to do it to still make it enjoyable to watch.
Yeah. But I do want them to get away from that trope now. It's like, come on, you could do something more original.
Well, given how the last one ended, Fallout, it looks like the whole syndicate thing's still going to go for at least the next 2 films. But hopefully it has a nice payoff.
That bit I don't mind, right? Keeping like the story kind of going, that makes it really interesting. That ups the stakes and keeps it personal for Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
I do hope we get a lot of the cast coming back. I'd love to see more Rebecca Ferguson. I'd love to see the core gang come back. And I would love to see Henry Cavill back.
You know what? I would not be surprised, especially if the next 2 are the last 2 that they're going to do. I would love to see, and I reckon they will do this, that they actually go and put together a team that's like the greatest hits of whoever's left. So you see Maggie Q pop back up.
Yeah, yeah, that would be interesting.
And
that would be very interesting.
That would be,
Yeah. I mean, we say the next 2 weeks. We certainly know they will be the last. I mean, even though Tom is...
He's going to be He's going to be in his 60s when that's done.
But he does not look anywhere near like he's
he may not look it, but I bet he feels it. I bet he feels it when he wakes up in the morning. It's like
he's a guy who's in tip-top shape. We feel it because we don't really like live the healthy lifestyle. We don't eat right. We don't exercise properly. He's probably like on the top of his game.
You don't break your ankle at 50, and that thing does not heal perfectly, man. That's going to be aches and pains that he's going to be feeling all through every winter.
But he's like he suffers from his arm.
This is true.
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess that's it from our Mission Impossible retrospective. This was supposed to be 15 minutes, Mo.
How long have we been going?
We've been going for nearly
1 hour and 18 minutes.
I know, it's fucking crazy. This is supposed to be a mini-sode. This is the full episode.
Is it like enough web space to like upload this to?
Yeah, it'd be fun. But yeah, I like this. And it made me enjoy these movies a lot more, watching them again. Even though I did this like a couple of months ago.
Oh, right. So you didn't watch these like recently?
No, I didn't need to. Because I watched them months ago and they're still so ingrained in my brain. But as you were talking, certain things would just kind of spark up in my brain. But I do want to watch Fallout again. Guys, don't forget to go to our YouTube page where you can see the feeds and listen to the audio of Talking at the Movies and DC vs. Marvel podcast and a whole variety of mini-shows. This will be on there as well. Yeah. So, from me, Idris.
And from me, Mo.
See you guys in our main show, Talking at the Movies. There, guys.